Taylor Guitars is expanding the Gold Label series once again, this time democratizing the new Super Auditorium shape to lower price points with new models that I think you're going to love. So stick around, I'll tell you all about it. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McHugh with Alamo Music in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn on notifications, and like our videos. If you want to support the channel, you can visit our spring store link below for custom swag and check out our podcast, the Fretboard Confessional, wherever you get your podcasts at. Some people have asked online a few times lately, what's the deal? Why is Cooper making videos or I'm making videos and we're not in videos together? And the truth of the matter is that he offended me, declaring that the choice of pick that I use is stupid and not as good as his pick. And so we are beefing and I can't stand to be in the same room with him. Or our business needs determined that someone has to be out doing the things that need to be done on the sales floor when we need to make videos. And so we're kind of switching off back and forth. I will let you be the judge of which scenario is more likely and let the rumors spread like fire on the internet, because that's how we like it around here. Speaking of fire on the internet, the Gold Label series from Taylor has been spreading like wildfire since it was introduced. There have been a slew of both Taylor fans and people that previously didn't like Taylor guitars' particular sound or aesthetic coming to these guitars and really finding a guitar that they are falling in love with. Now, you may remember at the beginning of the year, there was an introduction of the first two models with some finish variations, but that was the 814e Honduran Rosewood and the 814e Koa model. That's changing a little bit. Glad to hear it because it kind of didn't make sense to me from the get-go, but it'll now be the 814e with the torrefied spruce and Honduran Rosewood, or the K14e, which, as the name implies, would have Koa back and sides. Then came the Grand Pacific, the 5-inch deep round-shouldered dreadnought that was very popular in the Builder's Edition version. Now, as Gold Labels, has an even bigger and broader sound and the aesthetics to go with a vintage vibe. And those guitars have sold very well, particularly the 517. And the 717s also are really, for people that love a big rosewood-sounding dreadnought guitar, it's awesome. Now, the big thing about those the 517 and the 717 was the price point, coming down just under or right at $3,000, depending upon the finish. It makes for a very compelling option, basically coming in lower priced than most of the guitars it would compete against in the Martin Standard series, with, you could argue, more features like pickups and torrefied tops and so forth. So those were well received and very popular. It makes sense then that if you didn't see this coming, you should have. We now have the Super Auditorium sized 714e, which I have in my hands, and the 514e as well. Now, both of these feature the same control action neck joint that was introduced on the Gold Label series. If you don't know what that is, I'll explain a little bit more in a little bit. They have the fan V-class bracing, slightly longer, slightly wider bodies, so wider in the lower bout, slightly longer, making them a Super Auditorium size. And of course, because they are Gold Labels, they also have a different aesthetic going on. The pick guard shape's a little bit different. The headstock shape is very different. The logos are different. Everything about these guitars is going for a different aesthetic and a different sound than what Taylor's typically been known for. In other words, opening the options up to a new fan base or to an existing fan base that just want a different sound. So each one of these is available in a variety of finishes. So you have natural. There's a blacktop version with the cream pickguard. You can also do sunburst like this with either the fire stripe pickguard or cream pickguard on it as well, which would match the binding. I'm partial to the fire stripe myself. I think it gives it a certain Gibson aesthetic, but modernized with the edge burst treatment, which is pretty cool. Now we have a rosewood, Honduran Rosewood bridge has been standard on all of these with an ebony fingerboard. That's kind of a nod to classical guitar design, is what Andy said, and that was the reason he went with that. Now, the control action neck is something that both allows for easy setups on this guitar, but also translates to the sound that you get with these. It's a new neck joint that allows you, using a flexible driver, to change the angle of the neck relative to the bridge on the fly. Under tension, without changing anything, you can change the angle of the neck. We've seen a similar but different innovation from FERC. They came out around the same time, and I always find it interesting how there's all these people just trying to solve the same problem, and there's various builders who do it different ways. This is really cool. It's very easy to use. I wonder how guitar techs feel about it. There's still plenty of work to be done, but it's a very, very simple adjustment. And what's nice about this, Taylor showed this on a video, I think it was on the internet, on YouTube, showing the control action neck. You can, Andy talked about changing it based upon the performance or based upon the needs at the time. So say you're going to be playing songs where you have a heavier hand, a heavier attack, you're going to be strumming or flat picking, you may raise the action just a little bit in order to have more clearance and not have any buzz. But if you're going to be playing fingerstyle stuff, you may go in and lower the action in order to bring it closer to the fretboard, making it more comfortable, easier to play. And since it's going to be a lighter attack, you're not going to be dealing with buzz. And so it allows us guitar players to really try to achieve the nirvana of an acoustic guitar, which is getting the exact action we all crave. That's something that for years has been easier to do with electric guitars because of the adjustability that's there, and very difficult to do with acoustic guitars. So, pretty awesome. Now, V-class fan brace. It's V to the bridge plate, then fan brace after that. It provides a lot of flexibility to Taylor, to Andy Powers, and how he wants to voice these guitars. And the voice of these guitars is definitely looking backward. It's looking to a vintage sound rather than an articulate modern sound that Taylor has typically been associated with, and what I think a lot of people would term as just a modern acoustic guitar tone. We hear a certain sound on old recordings, and our ears associate that music with that sound. And so a lot of times when you're playing certain genres or styles of music, you want that sound. And that sound comes from old guitars or new guitars that can echo, if you will, that ideal. Now, the great thing about a new guitar that echoes that ideal is that you don't have the intonation issues, action issues, and other things that typically come with the vintage guitars. And if you've ever owned a vintage guitar, or better yet, if you've ever worked on a vintage guitar, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because there can be just a whole nest of issues whenever you go into something that's been old and thin wood and moving and all that stuff. So I digress. Just like their GP or Grand Pacific counterpart, these are available starting at $27.99 to $29.99 depending upon finish. And what I really like about this comparison, like that one, is these are the same tonewoods on the top. It's the same bracing and everything. Back and sides are different between the mahogany and the rosewood. Now, in the demo you're about to listen to, I play the 514e with this torrefied spruce and mahogany first, and then this, is that correct, Josh? Am I playing the 714 and then the 514, or the 514 and the 714? 514 and then the 714, right? Yeah, okay. I say that for the benefit of some of our customers who've asked me that are sight impaired. And they're like, hey, if you just say this guitar and then that guitar, we don't know what you're talking about. So take a listen. We'll talk about it on the other side. All right, so there you have it. Cast your votes now. Which one do you like the sound of better? The 514e with mahogany or the 714e with rosewood? And if you have been a longtime Taylor fan, I'd also like you to note what you hear different about these guitars. Ready? Go ahead, write it. Put your pencils down in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I'm a big fan of both. In this particular exercise, I think for my playing style, I would probably go with the rosewood one, the 714e. And that's because when I'm playing on a guitar that's usually shaped kind of like this, I want to do some strumming and I want to do some finger picking. And I like, particularly in like a solo performance, where you can have sustain and you can have the overtones that you associate with rosewood. So, and I really like the brightness and the bass that comes along with it. So you let me know. There's no wrong answers here. Could be I could change my mind in a heartbeat if I'm playing different stuff. So it really does depend. But I will tell you, and hopefully you heard it, these sound very different from a traditional Taylor guitar. Both their older brace guitars and the newer V-Class guitars have a very decidedly different voice that's much more articulate. And there's also a certain aspect on the treble side of the guitars that I think lead to that articulation on a normal Taylor guitar. So if you take an 814 CE, for instance, there's a lot of definition in the notes. That definition is there on the low end, it's there on the high end. And so you can play lines and they just kind of jump out. These are a lot more relaxed sounding to me. In fact, on the high end, it almost seems like it blends in with the mid and the low end side of the guitar a lot more than you would expect on like a traditional 814 CE. And that's the idea between these guitars, to give each note kind of a wider sound, thereby allowing them to kind of blend in some more. You lose some articulation as a result of that, but these guitars are by no means muddy. And so there's an ideal there where you're trying to get warmth and width in the note. God, it's hard using words to describe sound, but here we are. You get a real illustration of what's going on with the tonewoods. But you don't have crazy sustain, and yet you have enough, if that makes sense. You can think of a banjo as having no sustain and lots of volume, or a Macafarian-style guitar like Django Reinhardt played, right? Those guitars are very loud, very poppy, like no sustain. Single note stuff, it's there and it's gone. And then you can think of really long sustaining guitars that typically aren't quite loud because there's a bit of a trade-off. These really strike a nice balance of having great volume, great resonance, enough articulation without being too articulate, allowing all of those colors to kind of blend together, if you will. It's almost like the difference between an impressionistic painting and a realistic painting, in these guitars. So very cool. And for everyone who's been excited about these guitars, it's fantastic that they're available at a lower price point now. So let us know your thoughts in the comments, what you think. Which finish do you think is going to be the most popular? We could just do like an office bet there, and in the pool determine if the black top's just going to be the runaway success or natural or sunburst. Can I make a comment about sunbursts with Taylor real quick? I like sunburst guitars, and I like that they have found a way of like very subtle gradation. Sometimes sunbursts don't have enough gradient, if you know what I mean. There's just too much stark contrast. And I like it to, whether the style is an edge burst or otherwise, to have really nice gradation. Taylor is just, I think, knocking the ball out of the park with the way that they're finishing color on a lot of their guitars nowadays. So anyways, my 2 cents. If you want more information about these guitars, all the finishes that they come with, the prices, and the ability to purchase one, you want to visit our website at alamomusic.com. If you need to ask us any questions, of course, you can come in, email, or call us, but you can also click on Cooper's face in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can chat with us. There's no chat bots. There's no AI. It's people, usually Cooper, myself, David, or John, answering your questions, rather, and asking questions to help find out what you need, because that's what we're here for. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos, keep coming back for more. I'll see you next time.